Hey, I'm Sam Peterson. I'm an old gay trans man with bad teeth, and I'm also a published author of 2 books, Trunky, Transgender Junkie, and Sugar, a memoir of craving. I love knives. These videos aren't gonna rate or compare knives or show you the newest, bestest, fastest. A lot of people do that and they do it well. I'm going to talk about my emotional connection with these knives. I'm going to queerly share my queer love of knives with you. Disappointment. It's everywhere. Even with knives, I find there's a mild heartbreak to be had when you get that blade you were really excited about, only to find it's just somehow not to your liking. It's a question of compatibility. Now, I can tell you about disappointment. When I discovered I was not a boy, that my inner knowledge of myself was somehow untrue, that was a disappointment. And further on, every time someone mistook me for a girl and forced me to wear a blouse, a slip, and a skirt, there was tremendous disappointment. Not to brag or anything, but I have lived with disappointment my entire life. I have a doctorate in disappointment. When I try to pry that childhood part from my brain to inspect it, that trans part, I suddenly just shut down. My systems fail and the information is remote and inaccessible. And there's a question of knives. How are knives a disappointment, you ask? They are all pointy and made from steel, with small modifications here and there in shape and size. They open differently. They may have a unique brand, maybe different steel. Nonetheless, knives can be deeply disappointing. They can be objects I hold in deep regard and respect. They might be built by somebody I admire, manufactured by the classiest OEM, but somehow just be incompatible. That's really the only way to describe it, is incompatible. Take, for instance, the QSP Penguin. I bought this in gorgeous denim micarta. I had heard such raves about this guy. Inexpensive, a good slicer, D2 steel. It's even a joy to open. But for whatever reason, the denim micarta seemed to be a symbol of the knife's inability to sing to me. It was middle of the road, kind of washed out. I just can't get a boner for this blade, and it's a perfectly good knife. I mean, really, it's a good knife. It just doesn't suit me. The Pyrite is another one that disappointed me. I saw Metal Complex flash a steel-scaled one on his channel, and it was getting raves as a great budget knife. It's a nice knife, but when it arrived, somehow the steel just didn't look that great. It looked unfinished. It's literally the perfect knife shape. Like, if you looked up knife in the dictionary, this is what you'd see. And it does nothing for me. I just spray painted it recently for the hell of it to see if that made it more appealing to carry. It is aesthetically more pleasing, but I'm still not carrying it. Has an expensive, fancy knife ever disappointed me? Why, yes, it has. My Tuya NV4 is my favorite knife ever. I love this freaking knife. Tuya makes quality knives. They are all really built well. But when I got my hands on the Chicane, it was like, meh. It's a well-built, interesting blade made of S35 VN steel with blue pivot collars and a backspacer. It's got weight and gravitas. Despite being kind of science fiction-y in design, it's a total disappointment in that there's only really one way to open it. These finger holes, they aren't aligned with your flicking finger. It's just a really shitty design. Speaking of unappealing designs, check this guy out. This is the CRKT Jesper Voxnay's Ibi, or Ibi. It is hands down the stupidest knife I own. You literally cannot hold it the way it's designed and open this knife. And Jesper Voxnay, I have a great respect for him. I love his knives. I have many of his designs. He's fantastic, but this thing, it's a dud. See, I can't even do it. It's a total disappointment. I bought it because it was on super sale for like $23, so no harm, no foul. But you have to be aware of those super sales. A lot of times those knives ain't selling for a reason. But look at the micro. He designed this stunning little beauty, Voxnay's. I love this. Also the Tomavo, another knife I enjoy that's beautifully designed. Perhaps substances were involved the day he designed this. Maybe the Ibi is his disappointment. I think the disappointment you experience in childhood is the most brutal. You're so young and raw and innocent, and it shifts your view of reality a bit when things don't live up to their promise, especially when it's your parents. But that's just my experience. Imagine inhabiting a body that looks nothing like the rectangular, flat torso of a man with a quiet but evident bulge, long, sinewy thighs and calves. It looks like the complete opposite. Fat ass and hips, big breasts, ginormous thunder thighs. Despite all my attempts at the gym, I had to bury my disappointment in suffocating, bouncy lard. Maybe my love of knives isn't phallic. Maybe it's a symbol for shearing the womanly layer off this body. Maybe knives symbolize the lean, straight-to-the-point gesture of an athlete. The athlete I thought I'd become, running up and down the field, gripping that ball. I felt so free and so invincible. At the end of the day, I think knives are more of a talisman, an amulet, a dangerous protector. I doubt I would ever use a knife to hurt anybody, so the danger is mostly existential, except for the dangers of the little bites and nips you get yourself from knives. And you know, I swam with sharks through adolescence. No knives, just the sharpness of a life built on a lie I didn't even want to tell. I lasted long enough to find testosterone and surgery and help of an entire community when I transitioned. I am one of the lucky ones. No disappointment there. When the knife is disappointing, I'm sad, but ever eager to save up for the next one. Things will always let you down, but they will always build you up too. I gotta keep moving, keep looking ahead, while enjoying the moment, if you know what I mean. The moment is everything. One thing knives are great at, it's keeping me in the moment. The soothing flicks and clicks, the relief of pressing the liner lock or the button lock or the frame lock really places me in the now. Disappointment is also in the moment, but it's from placing too high an investment in the future. In the future, I will get this new knife, and it will be everything. It will do all the things I want it to do for me. And then it doesn't. I am better off playing with the knives I have than pinning great hopes on knives I want. I'm sure that's a great analogy for life or something, but all analogies are anal, so I'm going to stay hopeful. Maybe it's worth a little bit of disappointment to hope for future knives. And besides, when you're queer, the disappointment that we live with every day in society, in the media, in schools, our families, it makes us calloused for most disappointments. So to you and to my next knife I say, I only have hopes for the best.